What is going on, internet? This is another video coming at you from Redskins Rant. Hail to the Redskins. Before we get started, please subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell. You get all the videos that I post, get a notification about it. And also like and comment on the video. I haven't got a lot of comments lately. I've noticed that if you hit, it's for kids, it basically, if you hit a setting, it turns off comments right now with COVID-19. Okay, so here's what I want to go over today. So we got a couple signings done this weekend, and I was also read a story that I want to go over as well. Turn a little bit of heat on, so we're chilly in here. So the first thing I want to go over is we signed Cody Latimer. He drafted by Denver, played there for a year or two whenever Peyton Manning was there. I don't know if he bounced to other teams, but I know he went to the Giants, and then we signed him as a free agent for 1 year. You know what? He's a big receiver, and the one thing I've said the Redskins need, we don't need another burner. We have McLaurin. We have Steven Sims Jr. We have speed guys. We need a big possession receiver, and Cody Latimer is a really good route runner, and he could be our possession guy. So adding him was good. It's not a boom or bust. I think it's like a very safe pickup. I mean, worst case scenario, we're back to where we started, where we just need to find another receiver, and we could draft one that could step up and be that guy. So that's the first signing we did over the weekend. And we also signed Ronald Darby. If you watched one of my earlier videos, I said I wouldn't mind signing Ronald Darby. The only problem with signing Ronald Darby is health. He's not very he hasn't been very durable the last few years. Last year he played 11 games. The year before that he played like 9. The year before that he played 8. So it's he's missed over almost 20 games. I think it's about 20 games over the last couple of years. So not the greatest indictment for the guy, but when he is healthy, he is a solid corner. And with what the Redskins look like they're going to do in the draft, I mean, we don't need to have elite corners. We need to have guys that can just hold down the floor and get the job done long enough for our defensive line and our front seven to get to the quarterback. So it doesn't seem like that's going to be too much of a hindrance. Some other news I've heard that the Washington Redskins are looking to trade Trent Williams. That's not news at all. That's old news. But however, here is what is news. The Washington Redskins have, I think, 2 teams on the market right now that could really use Trent's services. And one of them is the Browns, which I don't know. I think they've offered us Njoku straight up for him. I know the Redskins want more than that. Like Njoku in a second, I would take that, because then we have at least another decent tight end. I know he can do the job. I know he's adequate. Right now we only have Rich Rogers, which he hasn't played anything the last 2 years, so we don't even know if he'll last. He might not even make it through training camp, if we have it. But the other team I actually saw an article about today was Trent Williams, and what was offered, this is what was showed. The first, there was like 4 different deals that could be on the table. First was like a first rounder and a 5th. I would take that deal in a heartbeat. First rounder and a 5th, get it done. It's a 22nd overall pick. You might be able to trade back and get 2 second rounders for that. You can keep that pick and get an offensive tackle. There's tons of different things you can do with that pick. And then another 5th round pick, which is not horrible. Another option I saw is the Vikings are trying to get rid of a tackle that they have in contract. Redskins could take on that contract. It's basically the same contract as Trent Williams, but we also get a 2nd round pick with it. So I would take that on. It's another tackle. We need that position filled anyway. He might pan out for us. He might not, but there is slight risk in that because we take on a contract he has this year and next year. But the benefit is if we get him to work out, we get a 2nd round pick, which is what we've been looking for anyway. And then the third option was trading like Anthony Harris or whatever his name is. We don't need another safety. We have a couple already. We signed one that we're going to see if he pans out. He's a local guy, Sean Davis, which I actually think is going to do really well. He's got to stay healthy. The biggest thing is a lot of ifs. If they stay healthy, if this and this. And then the last one I saw where it's like, it's no players, it's all picks. It's like a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 5th or something like that. Would not hate that option either. So those are a handful of options for Trent Williams that I would not hate. I would not hate any one of those options right now. The only one I would hate is Anthony Harris. I don't want a player who is disgruntled that only has 1 year left on his deal. If anything, The best deal I would take is the 1st and the 5th, because you can always trade the 1st round pick back and get like 2 seconds or something, because you never know who's going to want to jump up and grab a player. Or we don't trade it at all, and we can literally draft Trent Williams' replacement right there. So that's what I would do. I would take that, because that draft pick has more value to other teams, and you never know what's available. You never know what someone will offer. They could offer like a 2nd and a 3rd, and those 2 picks could be very close to each other. There's a lot of talent. That's the thing about Redskins right now. There's a lot of talent between the 2nd pick and our 1st pick and our 2nd pick. A lot of players in that mix that we can miss out on. So the drafts are getting like way ridiculous when it comes to how much talent's available. Ridiculous in a good way. There's a lot of talent available just about any draft you're going to have. So the Washington Redskins need to draft some good players. Now, I read this article today too. It was a mock draft, and I don't know who did this mock draft, but they are way off their bases. But I'll just go over it real quick, and it leads to a point that I'm going to make. Basically, the article it was a mock draft where the Bengals took 1st overall. They took Chase Young. They didn't draft the quarterback. 2nd overall pick was us. We took an offensive tackle. I'm going to tell you something right now. And I have nothing against Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas is a good offensive lineman that I would love to have on the Washington Redskins. He would definitely replace Trent going forward, and we'd have him long term. If we're not getting Chase Young at number 2, we are trading that pick, bar none. If the Washington Redskins do not take Chase Young at the 2nd overall pick, that is a trade down. Come hell or high water. I'm telling you, that is what it's going to be. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The only reason we are not trading down from the 2nd overall pick is because of how talented Chase Young is. If we don't have Chase Young, we don't just settle for the best available player. No, we trade down. Okay, the Dolphins are going to trade up and give us 2 first rounders, maybe a 2nd, maybe a 3rd, I don't know, to get their quarterback or someone else might trade up and get Burrow. There's leverage out there. There is leverage, and we don't need a quarterback. We have Haskins. I'm going to tell people this. Listen, when it comes to Haskins, this is what people need to understand about Haskins. Okay, now was I not sold on him at the beginning of last season? Not really. And to be fair to him, and I'm going to be fair to him, he didn't have a coach that believed him. I don't think Jay Gruden gave him a fair shot. I don't think he catered things to make him better. I think he basically said, learn the playbook or you don't play. And when Bill Callahan started catering the playbook to him and had him learn a little bit of increments of it, he showed progression. He showed what he could do things better. When he played the Eagles, he did great, other than like the last play, but I don't blame him. I blame the coach for not calling a timeout when you had one, when you easily could have called a timeout and put some extra protection. They're showing like blitzing like 7 guys and you only have 5 linemen. It's just stupid not to do that. He's a rookie quarterback. I don't blame him for that. And I was at the Giants game. He was playing great until he twisted his ankle. He was fantastic in that game. And I think the team rallied around their quarterback getting hurt, because right after that, they lost Terry McLaurin shortly after that. And then, the rest of the team just rallied. The defense actually stepped up. They did a whole bunch of things that, I just think a good team does around their quarterback. So I think he's like won over like his teammates in that regard. And I think he's going to do really well. If we take those 6 quarters he had against the Eagles and Giants, and we take those 6 quarters, and you magnify that into an entire season, I think we got our franchise quarterback, bar none. At the very least, he's a good quarterback. He's like just as good as, if not better than Kirk. And I think we're building things around him right now. Right now, the offense doesn't have a lot of weapons, but like I said, if we're going to draft, we're going to draft a tight end in the 3rd round. We're going to draft an offensive lineman to protect him. We're going to do a whole bunch of things in this draft. And like I said, the trading Trent and getting, let's say, wow, the weirdest case scenario we could possibly get is trade Trent for a 2nd. Let's say we trade Trent and we get a 1st and the 5th. Okay. Then we don't get our 1st overall. Don't get Chase Young. And then we trade that for 2 more first rounders and then a 2nd and whatever else. You realize within the first 65 picks in the draft, we're going to have 5 picks. 5 picks. If we did that, that doesn't mean it's gonna play out that way. There's no way to guarantee you how it plays out. I'm just saying that's a hypothetical where the Redskins could literally have 5 players in this draft's top 50 or 60 players, and we can literally draft every need we have for the next like couple of years, and then some. And we have a new coach is going to get the most out of them. So even if we don't get that, if we just get the first and the fifth, I would be stoked about that, because now we can actually take that second overall pick or a second round pick and draft somebody. Other things we could do, there's other options we have where we can take the offensive lineman off our hand, which I don't hate that idea. I don't hate the idea of taking an offensive lineman off someone else's hands, because he's not bad and it's just a big contract, and we have the money after this year. Like, the salary cap's going to balloon up to about 240 million or something to that degree. Just look at it from the Washington Redskins perspective. If the Washington Redskins, let's say right now, we have a couple guys coming off our books. Officially, even if Trent plays this year, he'll be off our books. As of right now, I think the Washington Redskins, with the cap space, the cap number is the way it is at this very moment, the Washington Redskins have about a couple $1 million or a lot of money in cap space at this moment. And that's not trading anything. That's not getting rid of anything right now. Now imagine if we, when it balloons another 30 million, we're gonna have like $60-70 million in cap space this year. So let's not panic. Let's not freak out. I know it's like the thing to do is like to think worst case scenario and what's going to happen worst case scenario, but let's not think worst case scenario. Let's think best case scenario. Best case scenario, what's going to happen? Redskins are going to get their guy. They're going to draft their guy. They're going to draft Chase Young. We're going to trade Trent Williams. We're going to get either a first rounder and a fifth, or we're going to get a second rounder and an offensive tackle to replace him. Okay? And then we're going to draft a tight end. We're going to draft a good tight end, a really good one. We're going to draft a really good tight end in the third round. Well, not a really good one. We're going to have like a decent one in the third round. One that's going to end up being a starter for us because of the situation we're at right now with the cap. And, yeah, there's other things that could play out as well, but I think that's the best case scenario for everyone involved. And then also in the third round, I think we're going to get, when we trade that second round pick, or we have that second round pick, we're going to draft an offensive tackle. I'm sorry, we traded for one. We're not going to draft an offensive tackle. We're going to draft probably a cornerback. We may draft an offensive tackle. I don't know. Maybe replace the guy we just paid for, or we just traded for. I don't know. There's tons of options we have. I'm going to wait till like a day before the draft before I do any more trades or doing more draft predictions, because there's so much stuff that can happen. Every time we sign a guy, it changes the positions on the chessboard, so to speak, about what we're going to do and strategy-wise. So if we sign a good tight end, that changes what we need in the draft. We don't need to draft a good tight end because we just signed one. We invested money in it. We don't need to invest too much money into one position. But we didn't do that. So, my opinion, I think we're definitely going to be investing. I think it's the third pick, the third round pick. One of the third round picks into a tight end. Maybe, hey, we'll trade up a little bit and get what we want. I've seen a couple that I wouldn't hate having on our roster in the draft. All of them are talented enough to make the NFL. I actually think, honestly, we'll get two. I think we'll get two tight ends. We're going to get Moss. We're also going to get I think we're going to get Moss. I think we're going to get one other person. I don't know who the first one will be. Moss we can get later because he has a Jones fracture in his foot, so we can get him later rounds, so no one's going to pick him up that early. That's Moss, unless in case you don't know, he played for LSU. He's Randy Moss's kid. So he's got some pedigree. He's not nearly as good as his dad was. But he's got pedigree. And I would go for the guy from Missouri. They seem to be putting out a lot of good tight ends. So he wouldn't be bad. There's a couple other options I would go for, but the one I would go for, the number one option I would go for personally, is to go for the guy from Missouri. There's Colby Pinkinson or something like that from Stanford. He's not a bad option. There's Otet or whatever his name is from, I think it's Notre Dame. There's a kid from Purdue is not bad. There's tons of options. So, yeah, I'm not going to go over anything else too much. I just want to go over the two guys that we signed this weekend. I heard stories about the draft. It's clearly a hand, not a freaking walk. Learn to read. Sorry, traffic. Someone walked across the street whenever the hand was up instead of the little person walking. Yeah, so I don't need to go over anything else. That's my video. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. What's your opinion? What do you think the Redskins are going to do with the draft? Do you think we should draft a tight end? Do you think we should not do a tight end at all this year and wait till next year? What are your opinions on what the state of the Washington Redskins? Okay? Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Hail to the Redskins. Have a good one.